The recent Mr. Olympia got me thinking who the strongest bodybuilders are and if there are any who have set powerlifting records. So no, I'm not just talking about extrapolating from an incline dumbbell set of 12 to a theoretical bench press. I'm talking bodybuilders who have officially, in competition, broken powerlifting world records. And it turns out, yes, there are quite a few who have done so. In fact, there were 12 that I could find, amongst them some IFBB Pros, some who were bodybuilding before powerlifting, some who made the switch after, and some who did it at damn near the same time as well. So, number one is Stan the Rhino Efferding. So I'm going in order of when they broke the records. So Stan's going up first, and he got his IFBB Pro card in 2009, and he got the moniker of the world's strongest bodybuilder, and he did so for good reason, because he broke the all-time world record in the 125 kilo class in 2011, totaling 1,010 kilos. Now, this is obviously in the untested division. Pretty much every athlete that I'm going to be going through in this video competed in untested powerlifting. There is, though, one amongst here who set a world record in tested powerlifting and was a natural bodybuilder. The rest obviously were all untested, competing in open bodybuilding. But you can see his lifts here. Absolute monster. And what's even more crazy is he set this record in his 40s. I think he was 43 years old. And there's another angle of his final deadlift there. So into his 40s, becoming the strongest ever in that weight class. He also broke the wrapped record, so raw with wraps, in the same weight class, still in the 125 kilo class. This time he totaled 1,045 kilos, squatting in knee wraps, which is a separate world record. Kind of dodgy standing up there, but still counted. Also, this was untested powerlifting in 2013, so you can see some of the standards slightly dodgier than what we used to today. That bench was suspiciously touch and go, but we'll allow it. And here's his final pull, 1,045. Now, what's crazy is nowadays there is a tested 120 kilo powerlifter who also has totaled 1045 in Rondell Hunt. In 2013, that was the world record in not just the untested, but raw with wraps. And now we have someone in sleeves and tested doing that, which is crazy. Next up is, of course, probably the most famous example, just because he's the most famous person on this list, and that is Larry Wheels. So Larry Wheels, of course, we know mainly as a powerlifter, but lately he's been more into bodybuilding, and he actually got his IFBB Pro card earlier this year in the Classic division. And you can see some shots from him there at that show where he won his Pro card. However, going back to his powerlifting feats, he first broke the world record in the 110 kilo class, totaling 985 kilos. That was done in 2016. And at the time, Larry was, I think, only 21 or something ridiculous like that, maybe even younger. He absolutely burst onto the scene and broke the stereotype that world record powerlifters in the untested had to be fat. Because looking at him there, it looked like he was about ready to step on the bodybuilding platform straight after that performance. But one world record wasn't enough for Larry, because he moved up the following year in 2017 to the 125 kilo weight class, where he broke that world record. So he broke Stan Efferding's record, totaling 1032 in that weight class. An absolute monster bench press, and also a monster overhead press. I think he's pressed 4 plus plates, 200 kilos, something ridiculous like that. Just all around one of the craziest strength athletes to ever do it, Larry Wheels is. That was his world record in the 125 kilo class. But again, 2 world record wasn't enough, because he moved up to his 3rd weight class to take a 3rd weight class all-time world record. So this time in the 140 kilo class. He only weighed in, I think, around 130 or so. He definitely didn't fill out this weight class. But he totaled 1075, benching damn near 300 kilos at this point, to take a world record in a 3rd weight class, which is a very rare feat in powerlifting, to break world record in not 1, not 2, but 3 weight classes, and all whilst having the physique of a bodybuilder, which is what makes Larry one of the greatest to ever do it. Next up is a slightly less known one, but a crazy transformation. It's Ben Pollack. So Ben Pollack was a powerlifter in the untested side back in the late 2010s, and he switched over to bodybuilding, and he got his IFBB Pro card in 2021 in the open class of bodybuilding. So on stage, he's, I think, weighing like 240 or maybe 220 on stage, but yeah, he is well into 200 pounds. And when he was in his powerlifting days, he competed in the 82.5 and the 90 kilo classes, and now he is a full-on open bodybuilder. So quite the transformation. But going back to his world record performance, this was in 2017, and he totaled 925 kilos. Again, this is raw with wraps, the division he did this. Absolute monster squat. And you can see just how much size he's packed on compared to those bodybuilding shots that I showed you there, which was 4 years after this world record, he was getting his pro card in open bodybuilding. 4 years after setting the 90 kilo powerlifting total world record raw with wraps. Again, we're going to see some lax, untested judging strike again with this deadlift lockout. Or potentially lack thereof, but regardless, it was given to him. 925 is the number that he set there. And Ben Pollack is also a doctor. He also has a PhD. Funnily enough, not the only doctor on this list. Next up is another popular one from recent years, Jamal Browner, and someone who's made the switch to bodybuilding very recently. So only really this year he announced, or last year, but this year was his first show where he switched over from powerlifting into bodybuilding. He competed not that long ago in the classic division. See some shots there, looked pretty damn good, and especially those hammies and that back, which, you know, if you follow him powerlifting, you know he's one of the greatest deadlifters to ever do it, deadlifting over 1,000 pounds and even pulling 500 kilos in the gym, sumo with straps, but still. So no surprise there that his back shot probably looks the strongest. But his powerlifting world record was in the 110 kilo weight class, where he totaled 1052.5, absolute monster total, largely carried by his huge deadlift, which I'll show you in a second. But yeah, compared to the fact that Larry Wheels' world record in the 110s was 985, and that was in 2016. This is 6 years later, 2022 was when Jamal did this, and he added damn near 70 kilos to Larry Wheels' world record. And again, a large portion of that was because of that monster pull, so it's no wonder his hammies and glutes and back is crazy on stage. Next up is Carl Kirvay, a recent one. He actually attempted to break the all-time world record in powerlifting, just regardless of weight class, biggest raw total ever without wraps, just last weekend, the same weekend as the Olympia actually. Didn't quite get it, but still broke the 140, or extended his own 140 kilo weight class world record. But IFBB Pro, he got his pro card in 2020. There are some shots from it there. I think he was only 25 years old at this time, so still pretty young and still pretty new into his powerlifting career as well. He's only competed in like 3 or 4 meets, which is crazy. He's already one of the strongest ever. But his world record, this was his competition that he did just last weekend. He squatted 425, and he tore his quad attempting 440 on his third. Still finished the meet and still managed to extend his 140 kilo all-time world record. Benched 290 and deadlifted 410. I think he also ended up tearing a hammy or something because of the imbalance in his legs. So with a torn quad and a torn hammy, pulled over 900 pounds as well to finish the meet. 1125. He previously had totaled 1102.5 last year to break the 140 kilo world record. This extended it. Of course, 1152.5 is the biggest sleeved total ever done by Jesus Alvarez, which is what the number Carl was gunning for. But, you know, if his quad and his hammies can stay attached to the bone, I think he's well on his way to breaking that record. Okay, next up, onto the women now. Hunter Henderson, IFBB Pro, got a pro card in 2021 and competed. She actually did compete at the Mr. or Mrs. Olympia in the last 2 years, 2024 and this year, and she actually finished in the top 10 this year, just last weekend. She placed 10th in the open women's division, so Mrs. Olympia, which is crazy. She's now in the top 10 female bodybuilders in the world, and she was also formerly literally one of the best female powerlifters in the world as well. So she broke the all-time world record in the 75 kilo class raw with wraps. You can see the lifts there, absolutely crazy squat there, damn near 300 kilos is ridiculous. So yeah, this world record she set in 2021, which incidentally was the same year that she got her IFBB Pro card. So imagine setting a world record powerlifting total the same year that you become an IFBB Pro in bodybuilding. Well, that was the reality for Hunter Henderson in 2021. And like I said, she placed 10th at the Mrs. Olympia this year. So pretty damn crazy. On to another woman, and this is the reason why Hunter Henderson didn't hold that world record for that long, because the 75 kilo class in powerlifting has been dominated by Kristy Hawkins, who was a bodybuilder, quite a few years back before her powerlifting career kind of kicked off. But she got her IFBB Pro card in 2007, so quite a while ago now, and she finished 7th at the Mrs. Olympia in 2009 before she transitioned into powerlifting. And what a transition that was, because she broke the 75 kilo raw with wrap total world record, 725 kilos. So she did this in 2023, and this is the biggest ever raw with wraps total, obviously in the weight class, because it is the world record. But this also gave her the highest DOTS coefficient, which is like the pound for pound formula used to correlate total with body weight, in the history of raw powerlifting amongst the men and the women, which is pretty damn crazy, making her on paper the best pound for pound powerlifter ever. There's her final pull there. Well, it was actually her first deadlift before she missed her second and her third on grip. But taking the raw with wrap record wasn't enough, because she also, earlier this year, she broke the raw world record as well in the 75 kilo class, totaling 720. So this is without wraps, this is in knee sleeves, and only 5 kilos below her world record that she did in wraps. Pretty crazy. And again, this makes her #1 on the list of raw powerlifters, and the only raw powerlifter to have ever hit a DOT score of over 700 without the use of knee wraps. So if you open up open powerlifting, you are going to see Kristy Hawkins at #1 on the list. And funnily enough, I mentioned before Ben Pollack had a PhD and was a doctor. Kristy Hawkins also, I'm pretty sure, has a PhD in chemical engineering or something crazy like that. So I don't know what it is with doctors and being super strong, jacked people, but there is actually another doctor coming up on this list. So there's not even 2, there's 3 out of the 12 people that I'm talking about are also doctors, which is wild. Next up though, we have Samantha Rice, who probably not as illustrious in a bodybuilding career as the previous 2 women, but she competed in a women's physique show in 2018. See some shots from it there. And she's been primarily focused on powerlifting since, where she has done pretty damn well. So she set a world record in 2024 in the 90 kilo class, competing raw, where she broke that world record, totaling 725. And this just shows what an absolute outlier Kristy Hawkins is, because her raw record at 75 kilos, a full 15 kilos below, is only 5 kilos less than Samantha's 90 kilo all-time world record. And Samantha herself is an absolute crazy athlete. 292.5 is one of the biggest deadlifts ever done by a woman. In fact, I think it's the 3rd biggest ever deadlift done by a woman. There will be a bigger one on this list as well that I'll show you soon. And next up is our 3rd and final doctor on this list, and the only natural on this list. That is Layne Norton, or Layne as you might know him by. So he competed in natural bodybuilding and then competed in tested powerlifting, going down the IPF route, competing at Worlds, where he still competes at today actually in the Masters division. He's won several world titles as a Masters lifter at IPF Worlds. And yeah, before that though, he was a natural bodybuilder. He got his pro card in 2006 in natural bodybuilding. You can see him there, pretty damn good shape. And then he transitioned to powerlifting, and he broke the squat world record in the 93 kilo class, Now, to be fair, the 8 lifters that I've shown you so far, prior to this, all had world records in totals. From here on, the remaining 4 lifters I'm showing you only had world records in single lifts in powerlifting. But, I mean, it still counts as a powerlifting world record, right? So 303 kilos was Layne Norton's squat in the 93 kilo class. Again, this is tested now. This is in the IPF, so not untested records. 303, absolutely buried it as well. And he's not built fantastically to squat either, with his long femurs and pretty leaned over torso angle. So it makes it all the more impressive for Layne Norton. Then we have Andrew Herbert. Andrew Herbert competed in, this is again back over to the untested side now, competed in bodybuilding. This was last year. He placed second at this show, and this was a pro qualifier show, so he could have won his pro card. Came very close to doing so, apparently, but he just placed second. You can see looking pretty solid. And his powerlifting world record that he broke was in the squat, so another squat specialist. However, this was, of course, in the untested, and this was in the wrapped division, so raw with wraps. He squatted 427.5 kilos in the 110 kilo class. Now, I'm not going to call that high because this is like the worst angle you can judge depth on, sort of the front and looking up. So it makes all squats look high. But, you know, I would like to see a side angle. I haven't seen one. But regardless, it was given to him. And 427.5, almost 4 times body weight as a 110 kilo lifter. Yes, it's with wraps, but still absolutely crazy. So that was done in 2019. And I should mention Layne Norton, when he did his 303 squat, that was done at 2015 at the IPF World Championships, where he actually finished second that year. And like I said, he went on to win several world titles in the Masters division. Then we have Joe Sullivan, who is another lifter who is a squat specialist and has a squat world record in powerlifting, who recently has switched over, or switched his focus, I should say, to bodybuilding. So competed this year in his first bodybuilding comp, came in pretty good shape, and he placed first in the novice category and second in the heavyweight category. Doing pretty well there. And his world record in powerlifting is his squat in the 100 kilo weight class. He squatted 386 kilos. Again, this is in the untested division, but this is without wraps. This is actually knee sleeves. And what a grind it was too. Stood up with it, absolutely dunked it too. So no question about depth on that one. Almost 4 times body weight, raw without wraps. Absolutely crazy squat there. And that was done in 2023. And the final lift I'm going over is actually Joe Sullivan's significant other, and that is Brianny Terry, who's another IFBB Pro in women's physique. She got a pro card in women's physique in 2023. You see some shots from her there. I would say back is probably her strongest point. And it's no surprise because the world records that she owns in powerlifting are deadlift world records. So she broke the all-time deadlift world record in the 75 kilo class with 291 kilos. And can you guess what year she did this? This was in 2023, the same year that she got her IFBB Pro card. Pretty wild. Similar to Hunter Henderson, who got an IFBB Pro card in 2021 and broke a world record that same year. Brianny got a pro card, and then just a few months after, broke the world record. 291 is not only the biggest deadlift ever in the 75 kilo women's class, it is one of the heaviest deadlifts ever done by a woman. And in fact, Brianny didn't stop there, because the following year, in 2024, she broke the 90 kilo deadlift world record with 293 kilos. And the crazy thing about this, just aside from the fact that she did it a year after getting her IFBB Pro card as well, is that this is actually the second heaviest deadlift ever done by a woman across all federations, all weight classes, all everything. This is just the second heaviest deadlift ever done by a woman in competition, only 4 kilos behind the heaviest female deadlift ever of 297 in an official powerlifting comp, and that was done by Tamara Walcott, who outweighs Brianny by about 50 kilos in body weight. She weighed like 135 or something. Brianny here only weighed in the mid-80s when she hit 293. So it's no shock that her strong point in her physique, bodybuilding-wise, is her back. But there you have it. Those are the 12 bodybuilders who have competed in bodybuilding comps, who have broken officially in competition powerlifting world records in total and also in individual lifts. I hope I haven't missed anyone. Let me know if I have. But yeah, all that, hypothetical projecting out from leg presses and incline dumbbells, we don't have to do that, because this is a definitive list of the strongest bodybuilders who have broken powerlifting world records.